from the Eileen Dover Studios.
Recording.
Alright, yeah, thank you. At 3 o'clock, I gotta get over the bucket, at 3, so.
Right. Yeah, but if you wanna hang out this afternoon or something, I'm staying tonight, you know. We'll talk, all right?
Okay.
Because they're closing the dealer's room at the end of my, I'm surprised that you came. I thought everybody'd be doing the laughing and stuff like that. And that's what I was doing, that's why I'm late. I bought my husband Anthony Armour a Navy pocket watch to go with Ruby's, because she got a steampunk watch. Come up here, Ruby.
I didn't get a steampunk watch. I got a Time Lord watch.
A Time Lord watch, right?
Yeah, their memories get
But
stored.
we're planning on doing this cosplay thing at different conventions and everything. I'm really lucky now because my life's going great right now, and MARSCON has helped me get there. 2 years ago, everything was in disarray, and there's YouTube videos about all this stuff. And then also, I've been singing karaoke here. I've had so much fun at this MARSCON, you know, it's because the COVID thing's completely gone. You hardly see anybody with a mask, and it's just, you know, the crowds are coming back and it's growing again. And I got some ideas. I'm going to go to the Dead Dog Party tonight and pitch them for next year. Get this deal going I got. It's kind of a cosplay idea I have. But anyway, hello, I'm Debbie David, but I'm also the actor Carl David, and I'm also the artist Carl David Burks, and that's my legal name, and I call myself Debbie. It's a public figure that I started, and then it became me, and I've lived my life since 1996 as Debbie David. I prefer she and her pronouns, but I prefer her, she, chocolate. So that's how we'll go with that one. And but I recently had to become a man in the last 2 years to fight off what everything happened. So the man in me had to come back out. Now today I'm wearing this Space Force shirt. Space Force is a real thing. The X-37B is up there right now. It launched about a month and a half ago. It's first vehicle of its kind to go off of the heavy lift Falcon rocket. And they had trouble getting that Falcon rocket just right, but it's good now, and it lifted it perfectly, and it's up there, and it can stay up there. It's a robotic vehicle. There's no humans on it that we know of. And it's a secret mission. It's a real thing. One of the good things that President Trump did was start Space Force and get it going. Now you'll notice that they didn't get the emblem exactly right, but they got it dang close, didn't they?
Yeah.
They got it really close to Starfleet.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing in my videos. Now, everybody's saying in Paramount, you know, and I don't know how much I can reveal about what that's going on, but if you notice in my videos, I'm wearing CBS News jackets, and I'm wearing Space Force stuff, and Ruby is too, and there's Starfleet things, and then I am actually Ensign Russell on Starfleet. That's me. That's the episode Phases, I believe, where I did some great acting by not reacting, because Geordie LaForge is out of phase, and so is Ensign Rowe, and so we're not supposed to be able to perceive that they're there. The crew thinks they're dead. We're about to have their funeral, right? So Geordie comes into engineering and he does this right in front of my face, and I just push buttons like he's not there, right? So that was my great acting ability. Anyway, and then I'll just show you this. This is from the 57th mission, the Creation Star Trek convention that was just in August of 2023. And this is a picture of Brent Spiner and me, and Jonathan Frakes, who's Riker, and the director of some of the best Star Trek movies. And Brent Spiner, I stood in for Brent Spiner on Next Generation. And I had a gold uniform just like him. A lot of time in 2 shots, it's my shoulder you're looking at when he's talking to Patrick Stewart, you know. And because Data had a lot of makeup touch-up because he had to go to the trailer all the time. Anyway, I just ran into them at Comic-Con, and let me tell that story real quick. I didn't know what Star Trek people would be at the Detroit Comic-Con or not. And my friend Missy Rose, she called me up and said she was working the con and that Brent Spiner was going to be there. And I went, oh, wow. But then I was afraid to go. And because of where I was at that time, I was homeless and they kicked me out of my apartment. I didn't know what I was going to do. And that's why I'm looking so shocked in this picture. So anyway, I take Ruby and I say, before we get there, now I don't know who's going to be there because Missy Rose called me back and said, yeah, she talked to Brent and he didn't know if you were in the Detroit area or not, but he'd love to talk to you. So on Sunday, and the thing's about to end, I go in and pay the $50 anyway, get in there on the floor, and they're signing autographs, Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner right next to each other. And I don't know, and I don't have money to buy a picture, and I didn't want to, so I was just hanging out in the crowd. And we started to leave that area, and I thought, well, we'll come back later, maybe it'll be right. Well, I'm standing beside the booth about 50 feet away from them, and Jonathan Frakes ducks out under his thing, and he comes trucking right towards me. And I'm standing there, and I'm wearing a shirt that says, Debbie David is Anson Russell, and it's got the Star Trek uniform on it.
I mean, we're like flying out over because there's...
And he comes right at me, and he gets real close to me, and I go, hi, Jonathan, and he goes, hi, and he walks right through me.
Oh, yeah, that was before.
And I turn around, and he's headed straight toward the men's room, right?
Yeah.
He was going,
Did he forget?
And Ruby says to me, he didn't even recognize you. He didn't know you. You were just an extra.
No, I said, he didn't remember you or something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you said, and I said, well, it's been 25 years, honey, and it's, I'm a girl now. I don't even know if he knows that or what. So anyway, we get there, and we go back past Brent's line, and I say, I haven't got the courage. And so I go to leave, and Brent Spiner's assistant, the same lady that's been with him ever since we were filming Star Trek, came out in the crowd and touched me on the shoulder and said, hey, Brent wants to talk to you. It just thrilled me so much. And so I went back and got in the line to go to Brent. And me and Ruby were talking, we were going through a process. We got enough money to buy a picture and an autograph, we're in the line. And so I'm holding out the money and the lady, not you, just put the money back, right? And then I get up, and we're getting closer to Brent, and all of a sudden, Jonathan Frakes ducks under his and comes into Brent's thing and goes, I remember you! You're Carl David Birch, now Debbie David. I remember you. And everybody started taking pictures of us and everything, and I just lit up, and I go, oh, he does remember me. And,
He said you preferred me.
so then Jonathan came out, and they took this picture with me, and that's why I'm looking so shocked, and they're looking nice, but they're professionals, right? But I just was barely able to tell them the trouble I was in. I let them know, though, and but I said, you guys are working here, this isn't the proper venue, so I'll talk to you later, right? And I did get to talk to them again in August. So that's why things are happening, and I'm so happy to be there. Now, this was supposed to be Debbie's non-disclosure agreement show, right? As part of this, that's classified, shh, don't say anything, right? And so this is the ultimate of that for me. So everybody in this room, please do not discuss some of the things I might reveal today in my show. Now, Russell appears on Enterprise B, C, D, and E. Now, how can that be? It'd have to be time travel, right, for me to be on B, and then most of my time on D. I'm on E now, I guess, and then and C. C is like only in yesterday's Enterprise that you really see that. But you see me with Moriarty in Enterprise C, and Tasha Yar's in that timeline. So it's like a separate universe, but it does exist in Star Trek, in the canon of Star Trek. And that's how I'm in the canon of Star Trek as Russell. Because, and I told the story the other day, and I'll just tell it real quick, but we're filming that scene in Tin Man, where suddenly LeVar Burton comes around the curved glass, and I'm behind the curved glass by the warp core, pushing buttons, you know, acting like I'm running the ship. And Russell, watch the lateral grid. No, that's too much. We'll have to do it manually. And I go, but what I'm thinking as I'm going, yes, Commander, is he just called me a name. That's what I was thinking. And then in the next scene, Arlene tried to send me to makeup. It took too long. The director put another guy that was much shinier than me next to LeVar, and they were going to do a close-up where he says, hands Russell, he's in isoliner chips. And so they get ready and they thank him. They put me in the background, and they hand me this little prop that looks like a laser gun that I'm supposed to point at the panel, which they later made a little red line come out of and made a light right up. That effect, each one of those lights costs $3,000 every time that thing. Dan Curry, the special effects, told me that later. He said, that costs $3,000 every time you push that button. Why'd you push it so many times? So, anyway, so we're getting ready to film the scene, and they go, rolling, speed, sound speed, background action, action, and I yell, cut. And all the air goes out of the room, out of the spaceship, out of the set, and the director goes, who said cut? I'm the director. Who said cut? And I went, I did. And LeVar Burton, even though he's wearing that Geordie visor, he was looking at me like, oh, there's a dead actor right there. And I said, because I'm Ensign Russell. We just filmed the scene in there where you call me Russell. The fans will see that as a mistake. And LeVar Burton goes, you know, you're right. Here's what we'll do. We'll do the scene just as blocked, but when I say Russell, I'll point at you. And you watch that scene, when he points at me and says Russell, I changed my life. And then I was Russell. I was a named character in Star Trek. So the way I'm saying in my movie, Debbie David is Russell, which involves me jumping off Voyager. I became Lieutenant Russell on Voyager. Now, we went back in time to 1996 with Sarah Silverman in that episode, Future's End, Part 1 and Part 2. It was end of the season and then start of the next season, Part 1 and Part 2. So, in Future's End, Voyager goes back to Earth. But then a guy comes from the super future and tells Captain Janeway, no, you've got to go back to the Delta Quadrant. You've got to go back to the Delta Quadrant. And so out of sense of duty, that's what they do. But me as an actor in that timeline, I was opened a club called Dragopolis in the Acapella Playhouse on Lankershim Boulevard in North Hollywood. I had Wayne Brady and Jonathan Mangum doing shows there. I had Fred Willard doing a show there, and Walter Koenig's daughter came and rented it and did a play there. All these stars. Dennis Hopper had Hieronymus Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delight, an exact replica of the whole thing. He put in my club for me. It was a fabulous place. And so at that time I thought, they're not going to bring me along on Star Trek and everything. And Brent Spiner said, as long as you're a stand-in, No, and your star's happy with you. They're not gonna let you, you know, come. And if I say you don't want to be my stand-in, you might not be hired at all. I said, well, then I can't be your stand-in anymore. And that's when I quit, and that's why I'm not in the last movie as Brent's stand-in. So I decided in real life to leave Star Trek. I told them I can't work anymore. And I thought they would do like they did Joyce Robinson and a couple other the long-term background that people have been noticed a lot, and people that have been stand-ins too. Because stand-in and when you're an extra, both, which is a rare thing, you're part of the cast and crew, and you're part of the family. When you spend 16-hour days, you know, in uniform and you're clean on, and then they'll pick you to stay as a Borg because you can stand it, you know, because some people, they got to rip it off, you know, they go crazy. But when you're getting into the 16th and 17th hour, you're getting a full day's pay for every hour. You know, I made $3,000 as a Klingon one day, and even more as a Borg one time on Descent Part 2. And so it was a bit of a thing to give up. So I decided my character jumped ship in 1996, became Debbie David, right? So I wouldn't have children and mess up the timeline, and y'all wouldn't even be here right now. And, and I've been doing my own videos that way. And I've been doing cosplay. And now, because I'm Debbie, I get to do Pride Convention, Pride Parades. I'm the National Secretary of United States Transgender Advocacy, and I've been that for like 10 years. And so I do those. And then I'm also Debbie, Queen of the Underground. And you can Google all this stuff if you want to. But I'm Debbie, Queen of the Underground, and that sounds a little bit sinister, but it's not. It's about, excuse me, it's about me and my underground club I had called Dragopolis at the Acapella Playhouse on Lankershim Boulevard in North Hollywood. And I threw raves, and like we have all locked the place down for the weekend, you know, nobody can leave. Parties there, and celebrities would rent my place and things like that. So I became Queen of the Underground because the B-52s, one of them had their birthday party there. And then one night the B-52s were going down Lankershim Boulevard, and I was walking down the street playing my guitar and walking past all the, they had these strip areas and clubs where the men would go in and put a quarter in, thing, you know, like a Madonna video. Those were filmed on Lankershim Boulevard near where my club was. But I'd be walking there at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would carry my guitar both as a possible weapon, and because I had to get the cash into the bank deposit, and I didn't have a car, so I would walk up to Wells Fargo up there and put my bank in the middle of the night. And then sometimes I would stop into those places because I would advertise my club in some of the transgender magazines that were a rare thing at the time. That's how we networked in the early part of the day when we were called transvestites and drag queens, you know, which was better than what we were being called before that. When I started transitioning, it was considered to be a social, it was written on my paper, social deviant and transvestite, and I had to go through years of, and so anyway, I had to go through years of what they call reparative therapy and conversion therapy. Yeah, I did 2 different years of that within like a year apart to try to save my family, my house. You know, I had a house with a swimming pool. It was so big I had a diving board. When I threw a party, it looked like Woodstock out in my backyard. If a helicopter didn't fly over at midnight and say, turn on the music, it wasn't a good party, you know? And that was the life I was living in, but that went away. I don't know why I got off on that. Dennis Hopper is a famous actor, director. Y'all know Easy Rider, right? That changed my life, Easy Rider. I was 13, and then Easy Rider came out, but because my cousin Dennis Hopper's in it, my parents let me go see it. And a week later, I'm wearing a leather jacket with a flag sewn on the back into high school, and they're trying to expel me. And then I point out, well, the firemen have the American patch on their sleeve, why can't I have it, you know? And so they let me stay in school. I became like a hero after that. And so, but anyway, I go out to LA, and I didn't hook up with Dennis for a few years. I got my Screen Actors Guild card on my own. So when I did finally hook up through my Aunt Martha Owens, we were working on a movie deal together. And I met Dennis, and we became really close. And so I worked with Dennis on Backtrack, a movie with Jodie Foster. I have lines with Jodie Foster in this movie, Backtrack. And I'm also worked on Colors. I was supposed to be in a fight scene with Sean Penn on Colors, but the day we were supposed to film my scene, which had a fight scene and everything, and Robert Duvall and everything was involved in it, Sean Penn, they were on a different location in the morning, and Sean Penn had punched an extra that day because an extra had pulled out a camera and taken a picture. You're not supposed to have cameras when you're an extra. And a camera, trying to get a picture of Sean Penn on the set. And Sean Penn had punched him, you know, because he was a wild boy in those days. And they had arrested Sean, and our scene was filmed in the actual bar at the police station. There was a bar for the LAPD, at where the helicopters, overlooking where the helicopters took off. And when you finished your shift, you could have 2 drinks and then wait an hour and drive home. So all the cops, that's where they would, you know, after their shifts, would have a drink. And that's where our fight scene was supposed to take place. I'm actually not hurt that that scene didn't happen because my 7 lines were all a string of cuss words, the worst you could ever hear. And I know my mother wouldn't have liked that. And I was going to rebel and not say them. I was going to pull a Dennis Hopper and not do it the way the director said, you know, and that would have got me in trouble. So maybe that was God looking after me, not giving me that one, I guess. But anyway, in my movie now, the shuttlecraft that Ruby and I are on is called the Dennis Hopper. And it's a whole thing where we are saving the artwork before the Borg come, because that timeline happened in another universe too, right? So this is things. Now, I had this deal going with Tracy Coco where I was trying to go to Starbase Indy and get this Picard timeline communicator to her, to give it to her, to have it repaired and get a message to the Picard timeline. And it went totally south, right, Ruby? And we almost died trying to get Starbase Indy back as girls on a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And anyway, but the reason I knew I could get, and the whole thing wasn't to get me on Picard, it was to get Tracy just seen in the background on Picard, so they would know that us extras are still in the Picard timeline, because the Picard timeline is the same one as Enterprise D. And yeah, so I wanted to keep the timeline on for Tracy, but I don't know why, it went totally wrong. And the reason I was sure that I could get Tracy to do that was because I had already set up this deal with Dean Stockwell, one of Dennis's best friends. And I was part of the entourage of Dean Stockwell, Russ Tamblyn, Dennis Hopper especially, and several different stars. So I was going to ask Dean to tell Scott Bakula, who I worked with on Quantum Leap too, and to get Tracy in the background on Picard. Well, Dean died in the midst of that, you know, and so, and then the thing at Starbase Indy happened. But I'm going to straighten that out, you know. I got favors owed to me, I believe, by Wayne Brady, and I think he'll help me. And then, you know, right here on my phone, that's me with RuPaul right there. I'm Debbie Queen of the Underground by the B-52s. It's a great song too. It starts out, radio operator to the tower, Debbie's coming in for a landing, so put your head between your knees That's how the song says that. I love it. And anyway, I've got all these stars that I had, you know, more than working with as an extra on. I worked on over 90 TV shows as an extra. And since I was a union extra, when they I was in the Screen Actors Guild even before they had the Screen Extras Guild. And then I didn't have to join, Screen Extras Guild. I was way beyond that. So they have to have 2 or 3 union actors. Well, yeah, because I would also work non-union under another name. I was a real hustler, man. Yeah, it's like the way I got on Star Trek in the first place. I was working on a John Ritter movie. I was a groomsman in a wedding scene on a John Ritter movie of the week. And one of the groomsmen were talking backstage, and he said, I'm working on this new show, Star Trek The Next Generation. It already aired a couple of episodes, but they're still filming the first season. I said, oh, Star Trek, all my friends and I watch that already. We love it. And I want to get on that. Who cast that? He goes, oh, that's Andy out of Central Casting. I said, oh, I know Andy. Yeah, I'm going to get on that. So I go down to Central Casting. They have visiting days. I went down there. And I waited in line to see Andy, and I said, Andy, put me on Star Trek. Nah, it can't happen. They all had interviews. They had a big casting call. All those people have their own uniforms with their names in them, and they don't need any more people. I said, well, put me on the list. And they're going to need people. Nah, it ain't going to happen. I said, all right. Right then, phone rang, he gets on the phone, he goes, I need a courier, go down to Hollywood, take some pictures down to the production studio. I said, I'm going into Hollywood, Andy. I wasn't, but I said, I'm going to Hollywood, Andy, I'll take this for you. How much you want? No, I'll do it for free, but then you owe me a favor, right? And then he said, all right, I trust you. I go out to my car, I put my headshot in the envelope. I don't even know what it's for. Put my headshot in the envelope. It didn't happen or anything, but you gotta try. I did the Clint Eastwood trick to get in for a call one day, where I came with a bouquet of flowers, and I said, these are for, so I knew the name of the casting director on lot. These are, that's how I got into that audition. Because I had read he had done that. Yeah, I was a real hustler. Anyway, so I went back the next visiting day, and I told Andy, I said, you owe me a favor, right? And he said, what do you want? I said, I want to be on Star Trek. He said, all right, if they ask for anybody. So a few weeks later, they called me up. They had me down there. They liked me. They said, go over, and I got fitted for a nice gold uniform, which is lucky. But the ones that the extras were very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. There was this stretchy polyester, and to make them look smooth, you had this strap, elastic strap that went under that, which you were supposed to take off your boot, put the strap under your foot, and then put the boot back on, and then it would hold the whole thing down like that. Well, 5 minutes after you put that strap under your foot, it starts, and then after an hour, it's like, nah. So, it was horrible. And so everybody's, like sneaking them off and then putting them back on when we're going back on the set or whatever. After I started standing in for Brent Spiner, and that's a great story too, how that happened. How much time I got? I'll ramble on here and I didn't get to anything. But I got this list of stars that I was writing down to talk about. I also like to talk about other movies. I don't want to just talk about Star Trek all the time, but for the time, the reason I'm named Debbie, because she did this movie, Goodbye Charlie, where she becomes a woman. Elizabeth Taylor, who I've got to meet through Dennis Hopper, and they were really close friends. I got to be with her in her backyard, and she's the reason I wear Chanel number 5 now. And Sean Connery, I'm in Rising Sun with Sean Connery. I'm Senator Morton's aide. And that's why I'll tell this little story now about James Bond. I have a Bond girl moment with 3 different James Bonds and 3 in real life, all right? You want to hear that one real quick? Okay, my husband, Anthony Armour, is a Army heterosexual male, African American, who fell in love with me at MARSCON in 1999. The very first MARSCON, I was the first guest of honor. And we met that night, and it was the first convention, and you all let me do this, and thank you. They called me up after I was back in Hollywood, and I was still on acapella and Dragopolis, and said, you signed a contract with us, you're going to be there, right? And this was like 6 months before MARSCON. You signed a contract with us last year. And I said, oh, well, I had started this Dr. Benjamin standards of practice where to not be considered a transvestite or a mental disorder, they finally came up with this standard of practice where if you live for a woman as a year and you still wanted to do it, then you could start doing this primitive early transitioning that they had back then. And so I was under this thing for like 3 months where I had been living as Debbie, even at my club, full time, as a woman. And I said, I don't think I should come because if I break this thing, and they said, oh, we'll get back to you, you know. And so they called me back and said, no, you signed a contract. We've already got stuff printed. We've got things out. You have to come. Could you just be androgynous during the day? And it's a family event. And do your show. And then at night at the room parties, yeah, we love that. So I said, oh yeah, I can do that. I'll just wear my Star Trek stuff, but I'm not going to cut my hair. I won't wear makeup or anything. So we did it like that. The first 2 rows were full of blind people that day. It was like a big thing. It was like 2,000 people seater that MARSCON. They had me promoted. They had me on TV, and they had me on the front page of the paper and everything. And I did a radio interview there in Minneapolis. And so the show went really good. So at night at the room parties, I was in this blue sequin and I was fully done up as Debbie, you know. And the blind people came back in and they heard my voice and they said, oh, we loved your show. We really loved it. And which was a slideshow, which I over-explained each picture because of all them. Yeah, I did like Ronald Reagan and, you know, read copy of a football game like it was a live game going on. That's how he got famous as a radio broadcaster, yeah. But anyway, and so they were saying, can we touch you? And I said, yeah, but it was very surreal. It was like that movie with Elizabeth Taylor where the kids are like all over Robert Cliff Montgomery. I don't know. But anyway, so they were touching me and they said, oh, you're beautiful. And this man walked up to me and said, are you Linda Evangelista, the supermodel? And I looked at him like, Now, so he's teasing me. He knows I'm a drag queen and he's teasing me. So I said, like that. And he turned away hurt. I seen him later at the room party that they had thrown. And they had a lighted disc floor and everything in this room party. And he asked me to dance. And I said I was sorry that I hurt his feelings. And he pulled me into his arms and he never let me go since. That's Anthony Armour. I met him at MARSCON in 1999. And we've been together ever since. And it hasn't been easy, but I love him still. And I'm going back there to take care of him. This list, okay, I got Claude Akins. Claude Akins helped me get my transmission fish. You all remember AA, MCO? Yeah, he was their spokesman, and I had a car go out, and he called them, and the CEO of AMCO called me up and said, I don't know who you are, but when my spokesperson called me and said, I got to take care of you, I'm going to take care of you. Bring the car back in, because they had done my terrible thing. I got Charlie Sheen on here, Sean Penn, Madonna, Annette Bening, her husband, Warren Beatty, Wesley Snipes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Keaton, Meryl Streep, Dustin Hoffman, Woody Harrelson, Kirstie Alley, Paul Wilson, Kelsey Grammer, Michael O'Donoghue, Milton Burrow, Ted Turner, Jodie Foster, Marlon Brando, Lawrence Olivier, Dwight Yoakam, Bridget Fonda, Jack Nicholson, my times with him at the Monkey Bar and on the Rocks, Carrie Fisher. So these are all people that I have more than, and Carol Kane should be on that list too, by the way. And I saw that she's on Star Trek now too. And she would validate me, that would be beautiful. Many of these stars would. I wrote an autobiography. All stuff got to my family in Kentucky, and they are against what I've done in this world about becoming Debbie, and they said they put all my stuff in the dump. So my autobiography is all my photographs. I was a professional photographer in Hollywood. I was also a cinematographer, director, producer. I did a lot. And I owned the club there too. That's why I'm doing these videos now. They're just YouTube videos, and I wish you all would subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's got all kinds of funny things on there. It's got some serious stuff. It's got very interesting things. It's not everybody's taste, but I think it's good. And it's got my Anson Russell and what I've been talking about, me mixing my real life and doing these cosplay kind of deals and going around talking. I'm doing another convention here soon in Kentucky. They contacted me the other day and they want to do this fundraiser for a library there in Fulton County. And they asked me if I'd be there. It's a Zoom thing, so it's not a big deal, but I'm so happy they're coming around. And then the Methodist Church, I was raised in the Methodist Church. I have 17 years perfect attendance at Sunday school, my first 17 years of life. My mom's name was Mary, and my dad's name was Joseph. So when I was born in March, and then in Christmas that year, I was baby Jesus in the pageant, right? My first acting role. And not the only time I played Jesus, by the way. I started in Godspell in college. Jesus. It was a great production too. But anyway, I'm there as baby Jesus, and what the ladies at church told me was, when the shepherds came up, the kids came up, the shepherds, I started laughing. And I just kept laughing. And then when the kings came up, so the shepherd kids, they froze. They didn't know what to do. They were looking out the audience like, you're laughing. And everybody in the audience started laughing, and then it went on. So anyway, they said it was a great evening. And Miss Cleveland told me, she said, I was a Protestant, but I joined the Methodist Church that night. And so I love that. And anyway, I grew up in the Methodist Church. I fell away from the church, of course, you know, in Hollywood and everything. I quit going to church, but I always, you know, kept Jesus in my heart. And then I hooked up with this thing called the MCC Church in LA. It started in the church, and they have it in Detroit now too. But it's you know, like a church of gay. It's a gay church, and or it's accepting of everybody, but it's accepting of age. But then this last summer, the Methodist Church voted to whether to keep LGBTQ inclusive or not, and 1/5 of the church broke away and said no. And they became the World Methodist Church. And they broke away. And 4/5 of the church stayed together and stayed the United Methodist Church. And so now I'm singing bass in an all-ladies choir at the Ferndale First United Methodist Church, and I love it. And I'm sorry that I'm missing them today. They're doing Amazing Grace without me today. And I'm so happy to be back in a church that's accepting of me and Ruby. And I just want to thank them for that. And so I went back to my hometown church in August for my 50th high school reunion. That's what this is about. And y'all can come up and look at these pictures if you want to later. But, because I got like signatures from everybody too, and pictures of me on the show. But anyway, I went back to my 50th high school reunion, and I wore a dress, and everybody was really great to me. I went with Liz Everman, my friend from college, and she was the ABC anchor woman for 27 years here in Louisville. So when we came in, showed up in her brand new Porsche, and we walked in there looking great ladies, nobody, said a thing. And I had a really beautiful evening. It gave me the courage to go to my hometown church the next morning. And I went in, and I didn't know whether most of the churches in Kentucky voted against staying in the church, but mine stayed. And they were very accepting and very loving. They let me see the window that they put in for my mom and dad in the fellowship hall. And then after church, they invited me to this CPR training course, and I wanted to stay with them as long as I could. So I said, yeah, I'll take it. So I take the CPR training course in August, and then last month, I hear my husband screaming. I go back to the bedroom, he's in the air suddenly, and then drops dead on the floor and rolls under the bed to where I couldn't get him out, and he just dead. I didn't know what to do. I tried to call 911. My phone locked on me. It said emergency call, and I tried that, and it locked. So I get my back against the wall, push the bed away, I get him rolled over, and I start doing what they trained me to do. Staying alive is the song they say, staying alive, staying alive, that's the beat you're supposed to use. I did that. He has an internal defibrillator. That's what had gone off the wrong way and stopped his heart. And every 30 seconds that would go off, but nothing. So I just kept doing it. And I said, I should call 911, but I can't, I shouldn't stop. They said, don't stop. I did that for 2 minutes. He came back. And so, all this comes together for me. And that's why I feel I'm doing so well. And I want to pitch these ideas at the Dead Dog Party, and I will tonight. And any questions? Anybody want to ask me about any stories? I could tell these stories I had at the first show. I was telling all these Star Trek stories that led into each other, and I got the names here of Patrick Stewart leads into me meeting Neil Armstrong and Mae Jemison and Buzz Aldrin. And I got to meet a lot of famous people in real life. I got to spend 20 minutes alone with Dr. Stephen Hawking when he played poker with Isaac Newton. And then I get to talk to Aaron Neville, who is Baron von Munchausen. Anybody know that movie, Baron von Munchausen under Terry Gilliam? Oh, that's one of my favorite movies. And that would lead into me talking about my friendship with Robin Williams. And I got all these names on that, about that show. Robin Williams, James Doohan, Walter Coney, George Takei, Nichelle Nichols, Leonard Nimoy. I've worked with all these people and have stories outside of Star Trek about them. And this is my autobiography now. I go to these conventions, I film little segments like this, and then I go back and I can work out this story, and this happened before that, and I can. So this is another good thing I'm doing, I think, right now. But in all of this trouble, and me trying to hook up, I'm inventing the Space Force to Starfleet hatch. And there's also got to be a communicator, Picard timeline communicator, computer patch from Space Force to Starfleet. And I'm working on that. But in my real life, when I'm fighting all these evil forces, like landlords, people coming after me, and people that tried to take my artwork and got away with it, including a poster of Jodie Foster from Carney that's worth $2,500 that I got out of Turkey to save from the Taliban destroying. And I was going to give to Jodie Foster, but now I can't find it because it got stolen out of my unit. I have to become somebody else, and that's Superman. I had to become a man again to do that, and I'm doing it again. I'm gonna play Superman in my movie. And that's another thing I can't really reveal because we haven't worked it out with DC yet. And I'm talking about Washington, DC. All right? But we will. And there's a thing with Amtrak and Joe Biden and everything. And I love our president. But you know what? I love Donald Trump too. He was very nice to my mom. In New York City, I was an elevator operator at Henri Bendel's, one of the fanciest stores there ever was. And it was an antique Otis elevator, 1920s, and it had a brass cage, and I, wore a suit with the stripes down it. And Donald Trump would come into my elevator all the time. He'd say, "How are you, young man?" And, he was very thing. And then one day, my mom was visiting me in New York from Kentucky, and she said, "You need new clothes. I'm going to take you to Lord & Taylor's and when you get off work." And I said, "All right, Mom." And she said, "But I'm tired of hanging out here. I'm going to walk over to Tiffany's," which was not that far away from Henri Bendel's. But I said, "Mom, I don't want you walking alone to Tiffany's. I'll tell you what, I'll tell Roberta to run one elevator, and I'll shut this one down, and I'll walk you over there." And Donald Trump turns around and says, "No, young man, you stay on your post. I'll escort your mother to Tiffany's." And he held out his arm. My mom takes it, and instead of walking away, my mom turns back and gives me a look I've never seen on my mom's face, like, "I still got it." And so I saw Donald Trump later after that, and I thanked him for that. And that was when he was coming out with some ties. He was there showing his ties off. Yeah. So and then later when I became a caregiver in LA, me and our patients, we couldn't wait for Celebrity Apprentice to come on. It was a love-hate relationship about it then, but I love him. So I wish Biden and Trump would get in a back room together and say, "Hey, listen, I'll pardon you and make you an advisor on finances for the future and stuff. Let's give me the next 4 years. Let's straighten out. Let's all become Americans again. What do y'all think about that? Let's all be friends again."
I don't think Trump likes to listen to Vladimir Putin.
Now, Ruby, you come up here. I want to introduce you because Ruby doesn't feel like she's part of Starfleet anymore, and she never was. But come up here, Ruby. Now, Ruby's got her steampunk outfit on today.
Yeah, Debbie got me this. I keep getting compliments.
Yeah, come in here.
So let me get these WATERWORLD. And she got me get this here at the convention I finished last. Yeah, there's some glasses that had these, the lenses are the right size, so I popped them out and put them in here. These are just passing through.
Yeah, but what now? So Ruby has recently come out of her shell. She shut down because of all the trouble we got into.
I also have self-esteem and confidence issues from being bullied from 4th grade through 7th grade.
Yeah, she has social anxiety and all these things. But she's doing so well, and she's had the best time at this MARSCON ever. Starbase Indy was a terror for her. And then the last time we came to MARSCON, she had a pretty good time, but we were still in trouble then, and I didn't know what I was going to go on
I
back
didn't
to.
have a costume. Same with Comic-Con. That was the fall last year. But I got a costume out, plus then he bought a Star Trek classic dress.
Yes.
So I got 2 costumes.
Right now in the storyline,
My 3rd one's out.
she's on the Dennis Hopper, which has been damaged, and we're separated in my storyline.
Well, let's see. We tried to go to Starbase Indy and get attacked by Jim Hadar, which for some reason are docking there. And then the shuttle went home. And then it was repaired enough.
Now I want to give everybody here at my show.
And then we repaired it again. Well, last year the shuttle was not functioning. Or whatever. I took a picture online and I modified it just to text on one part. I think it was Wikipedia. And I forget what kind of shuttle, but
Now here, these are collector cards from the making of Star
because
Trek.
I did edit that part out.
But I'm going to give you a personal card too.
It's like a backstory about it. got it from,
So if you'll
Radiant.
subscribe to the YouTube channel on here, we'll be connected forever. You can comment on my videos. I do live broadcasts too. And here's a collector card with the making of Star Trek. Now I have some of these making of Star Trek, and if anybody wants me to sign there, I'll be glad to do that too. But this making of Star Trek cards are a special set. And if you find a card, I'm on two of them. I'm on the one called Standing In. There's a collector card. And, I'll keep on my notes here. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. Is that? Oh, yeah, that's medical, right? Oh, Gates McFadden was so nice, and I have a special story about her when she directed. So please subscribe. I'm up to 230 subscribers right now when I came to MARSCON. And if I can get to 333, it's like a magic number for me. And my first 333 subscribers are going to get something special back in the future when I get this all totally funded. And if I get to 500 subscribers, YouTube has told me that you normally need 1,000 subscribers, and then you can get this thing called an encoder. It will make me like an actual TV station. So I can do live broadcasts, but I can pause, I can do inserts. There's monetization at the end of it, but this is not a business plan, never was. But my YouTube channel is more than a hobby. It's part of my voice out to the world. It's me fighting for transgender equality and rights. It's me talking about my life in Hollywood, Star Trek. Now the three James Bond stories, I better go real quick on them. It's Sean Connery in Rising Sun. And I met Sean, and there's a couple of times he came out of his trailer, and his trailer was on inside the soundstage. Big stars have their own personal trailers right next to the soundstage. But Sean Connery had his inside the soundstage with a white picket fence around it, AstroTurf lawn, and only the union extras could go inside that picket fence area to go to the craft service area. So I was just a far background extra on there. And Philip Kaufman, the director, who also directed Right Stuff and Quills, fantastic movies. And there's another one with Ashley. But anyway, Philip Kaufman, they come in and say, are you union, to all the different extras, and I go, yeah. He goes, come with me. So they got a bunch of male background people who were union to go up and stand in line. There's about 40 of us. And he said, the director's going to come up, and he's just going to look at you. He's looking for a certain look. If he asks you something, talk to him, but otherwise, don't even speak to him. All right, I'm about 3 from the end. So he comes down, Phil Kaufman, he asks a couple of people questions, something like that, and walk down the line. And when he gets to me, I go, Mr. Kaufman, I saw The Incredible Likeness of Being 8 times when I was in Rome, because it was the only English-speaking movie they had there, and I watched it over and over, and the scene where you did that, oh, and the camera moved like that, and he's standing there like this, and then he goes, and he doesn't say anything to me, he goes on down the line, and then they walk away, you know? So he says, go back to your positions, and we all go back to positions. About 20 minutes later, this AD walks up to me and goes, don't say anything, just walk quietly away with me. I said, all right, we walk away, you know. Mr. Kaufman wants you in the movie, and so I got bumped up to be Senator Morton's aide that way. Then Sean Connery, there was a scene, it was a big downtown scene, they had to fake rain, because the movie starts out, there's a big event at the Nakamura Towers or something. And they had helicopters flying around. They had the whole building rigged with rain booms. It was incredible. And Philip Kaufman comes up and says, you're in the wrong suit. You're supposed to be in your tux. You're supposed to be in your tux. Where's your tux? He calls wardrobe. The tux is over at the other side. Get it here now. And so there's 20 minutes go by, and they finally, Philip Kaufman, the director, walks up with the tux in his hand and says, I hate to ask you to do this. Can you put this on? Go behind that statue right there and put this on. I said, yeah. And so I'm putting it on, I go down in my underwear, get this tux on, and the girls are kind of whistling and catcalling over there. Suddenly, Sean Connery comes up behind me, and right in my ear he goes, "You're gonna remember this evening for the rest of your life." Yeah, you said that, I am. And then we had a couple other, well, when he came out of the trailer that day, when I first met him, he came out in this terry cloth robe, blue terry cloth robe that was cut right here. And then these whiskey barrel legs of Sean Connery there, and they're hairy and beautiful. And even though I was still a man then, I swooned like a woman. My knee buckled. And my face turned red. And he saw that. He didn't say anything. Later, then he walks over to the craft service thing and he takes a bagel out, and they had a bagel slicer, and he slices it and puts one on one plate and one on another. He takes cream cheese and he dollops it around like a baker would decorate the edge of a cake in these little scallops. And then he takes raspberry jam and he drizzles over this one and that, and he turns and he goes, "Carl, would you like to share this bagel with me?" And I said, "Oh, James Bond just said my name." And I took it, and I ate it, and I was thinking about the grain that went in to grow it, and the fields of maybe in Kansas where this, and I ate it so slowly because it was James Bond. Later in life, after I become Debbie, I worked for Carl Anthony Browner. I lived in his home, and I was his caregiver. I managed his estate. He was a USC professor. He was an art director of movies. He was the art director of Get Smart and The Lucy Show. And he taught at USC. And he owned apartment buildings around town. And he had his home inside Griffith Park, and I was living there. And he liked to have his meat from Gelson's, and the specially cut porterhouse steak by the butchers. So I was down there getting that for him. And who's in there but Sean Connery, right? Getting a steak too. And he sees me and he goes, "Carl, what's your name now?" "I'm Debbie, you remember me, huh?" "Yeah." We started talking, and the conversation ended with, "Well, since I'm Debbie now, can I be a Bond girl?" He said, "All right, you're a Bond girl." So then there's another movie, Live Wire. And it's the first movie Pierce Brosnan probably made after his wife died. And he was in a dark mood in that movie. And in the movie, there's a scene where his daughter drowns in a pool. And we had, months earlier, the girl who's playing his daughter had come to our special effects. I worked special effects too on a lot of movies, including. So the girl came and we did casting of her face, and we made an exact replica of this girl out of this really dense foam because we know might float otherwise. And we put weights in it and everything, but we didn't put enough weight in it. And we had the exact wardrobe that the girl would be wearing in the scene. And when we put it on the bottom of the pool, it was fine until there was any movement in the water, and then it would start to float up. So they came up with a plan, and I owned a house with a swimming pool then. I was real good in the water and everything. And so the special effects crew came up and said they want somebody in the water out of the shot just to keep their hand on the dummy as Pierce jumps in, and then you pull your hand. The pool had a curve to it, like kidney shape. Pull your arm back out, and then it won't float up. And I said, "Yeah." So they asked me, "Would you do that?" And they said, "Well, go over to wardrobe, they'll give you a swimsuit." I go over there, and all they have is a woman's one-piece bathing suit. So we really hate to ask you to do that, but we've got to shoot. We're losing the light and everything like that. And I said, I secretly thought I was thrilled. And so I said, "Yes, I'll do that. Don't worry, I won't be invested. I'm confident in myself." So I go put on this. So I got to be in a woman's bathing suit with Pierce Brosnan. And so later, when I was doing another special effect on that movie, I was hired as a puppeteer on that movie, Live Wire, too. I talked to Pierce Brosnan about that, about being in that thing. And then the third James Bond I worked with in real life on this movie is Timothy Dalton, who is, I think, one of the sexiest Bonds there ever was too. Sean's number one, of course. But anyway, I'm working on this movie called Rocketeer for Disney. And I'm standing in for Timothy Dalton. And Paul Sorvino and him got into some kind of argument on their two scenes that we were filming at a Frank Lloyd Wright house in the Hollywood Hills. And this is a fabulous, famous Frank Lloyd Wright house. And I got to tour the whole place and even go in the basement and see the molds where they, that was a Frank Lloyd Wright trick, where they would pour concrete blocks on site into these molds that were shaped only for this house. So that wouldn't be the only ones that have that block. And so while I was there, I got to do all these things. And they came to me and they said, go to Timothy Dalton's trailer, change clothes with Timothy Dalton. Paul Sorvino and them were fighting, so they want to use your shoulder and your arm in the two shots. I said, all right. So I go over to the trailer, and you know, I've been working with Timothy all that week and everything. And I said, we're supposed to trade clothes. And he said, yeah, I know. Let's go. So we're standing, looking right at each other, you know, and we start taking off our clothes. Well, you know, I want you to take off his clothes. He's not wearing underwear. And I guess he noticed me looking, and he was like, why are you looking? And I don't know. So I get his clothes, and when I'm pulling up his pants, it smells like gray flannel. I'm going, oh, that's Timothy Dalton, and he's so sexy. And I pull up his pants, but I can't really button them. I'm so too fat. And he's going, you're not going to stretch them out, are you? And I'm like, yeah. And I go, I know, I got it. And I went and did the scene. So when you see that scene, and you see my arm and holding the sword and everything, that's my arm, that's my shoulder and everything. And then later, I didn't know this, I'm standing in for Robert Duncan McNeil. And we have a season wrap party at the Hollywood Athletic Club, which is a fabulous place where Buster Crabtree and Johnny Weissmuller started it and in Hollywood. And they have pool tables, and it's just elegant, and dark green curtains, and it's from the early Hollywood. It's all beautiful. And anyway, they had these pool tables, like 6 or 7 of them, in this one area. And Robert Duncan McNeil comes in with his friend, Timothy Dalton. And Timothy Dalton sees me and comes over, and he mentions about changing clothes with me and how I got embarrassed. So that, I figure, is another Bond that I'm a Bond girl of. So that's my 3 gay Bonds. Thank you all for coming. I love you. I hope you come back to MARSCON. I need to back to producing myself. I'm going to come back. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
I'm Debbie David. I'm Ensign Russell on Star Trek.